Okay, I've opened the GarageBand app and this is what the first screen looks like. I'm going to create a new track by pressing in the top right hand corner, that plus sign. Here are all the instruments that you can select from, but we're just going to go with keyboard. And you've got this picture of this synth here. We're not going to play these notes in, instead we're going to click them in. So we'll go to the tracks window up here. And you can see that that window has now changed, that icon has now changed to a keyboard. If you want the keyboard, you can go back to that. You can play these notes in, but we're going to type them in. So I want this screen. Click in the top track and the word edit will come up. Click that. And here's the screen that we're going to edit our notes into. You can see at the top, we've got the bar numbers, bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, and so on. Motif A is only 1 bar long, so what we're going to do is stretch this out a bit, and as I do that you can see that the bar numbers zoom in. So we've now got beat 2, beat 3, beat 4 of bar 2. I'm just going to scroll back to bar 1 and we'll use that. So this now looks a lot like what you're looking at on the resource, where you've got the green lines, and to create those green lines, the actual notes, we're going to slide this pencil icon. So now you're ready to tap in. Now, our first two notes, you can see at the top, say F2 and D2. So on the piano here, it says C3. That means I'm going to need to scroll down a bit. Well, I don't want that note there. Scroll down until I can see C2. And then that first set of notes is where it says 1.2 or beat 2 of bar 1. So I'm going to tap on D2 and I'm going to tap on F2. Now these notes, these lines have come out too long. You can see that there's just one of these boxes. So we're just going to drag that note back, select the end of that note, drag it back, and now they're the length that we want. There's a 1 box gap, and then we do the same again, D2 and F2. This time the notes are at the right length. They're at the length of the ones we just typed in. Then there's a few boxes gap, and the next note is a G2, and it's just before this 1.4. So we're going to look for G, and at the box before 1.4, we can just tap that in. There's a 1 box gap, and then we've got another one. Now we're coming down. Now that note I clicked in wrong. So if you click it in the wrong place, you can just press on it and slide it up to where you wanted it to be. And that one I've done too high, so I can slide that down into the right place. If I play this by pressing play at the top, then we've got motif A done. I've pressed this metronome setting, by the way, so that you want to be able to hear the timing so that you know that it's in time. And I'm going to click done. And that takes you back to the main tracks window, and you can see that that motif is there. If we press on that, double click on it, then we can hit rename, and we're going to call that motif A. And hit return, and there you go, motif A. I've got motif A at the top. I'm going to duplicate this instrument to create motif B. I'm going to press the picture of the keyboard, click duplicate, click inside this track and click edit. I want to just do 2 bars for motif B, so again I'm going to stretch the screen out so I can clearly see 2 bars. And my first note is C4, so I'm just going to slide this down so that I can see C4 at the edge. I don't know if you can see C4 written in there on your screen, but once you look at it on GarageBand, you'll see it very clearly. My first note's at C4, and it's right at the beginning of the bar. I'm going to just drag my pencil icon and tap that in. It's come up as 1 beat, 2 boxes is 1 beat. So I'm going to drag that out for 3 beats. And my next note is A3, so I'm coming down to A. And then I'm coming down to G. And that needs to be the full bar, so I'm going to drag that out. Again, if you've just accidentally hit it in the wrong place, just slide it to the correct note. And the note that you need is highlighted there. So if I drag it down, I can see that I've got the black note instead of this white note. Okay, that's done. So I'm going to hit done. And I'm actually going to join these 2 tracks together. It gave me 1 bar each. So I'm going to select them both by pressing on one and tapping the other. So they're both highlighted. Now I can click on one and click join. And that comes up as 1 track. I'm going to rename that. So I'll double click on it, click rename, delete that, and that is Motif B. Done. I'm going to create a new track by duplicating this instrument, and we'll make Motif C in here. Let's double click. A single click will do actually. Edit. And Motif C is just 1 bar. So I'm going to zoom right in. And if you look on the resource, you can see on this screen, or the equivalent of this screen, these numbers appearing at the top. So you want to zoom in so that you can see not just 1 and 2, but 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Now, these boxes are worth 1/4 of a beat, or a semiquaver each. My first note is D1, so I'm just going to move this screen until I can see C1 here, and I'm going to select the pencil tool and click on D1. Now that's given me a note that's 4 boxes. I want to shrink it down to 1. Then I need a D2, so you might just have to move the screen slightly. There's no gap here, it's the very next note, the very next box, D2, and the very next box, D1. On the resource, this 3rd note is 2 boxes long, but I think because it's got a staccato dot underneath it, which you can see if you look at the actual notation rather than the green line, I'm going to leave that as 1 box, and I think that will sound right. The C1, the next note, doesn't come in until the box before 1.4. So I'm just going to shift this along and find C1, tap that in. We need a 1 box gap and another C1. And then we go up to C2, there's no gaps here, just tap that in. This one is going to be 2 boxes. It is a quaver and it doesn't have a staccato dot underneath. So I'm going to stretch that out to 2 boxes. Click done. Don't forget to rename, really important. Double click on rename, and we'll call that Motif C. And hit return. Now, Motif CI is very similar. If you look at the notation or the green lines, you can see a lot of similarities. That's because the rhythm is identical. It's only the pitch that changes. So instead of tapping this all in again, I'm going to copy this, double click on it, click copy, and I'm going to paste it in. The position you paste it in at depends on where the playhead is. So I can click at the top by these bar numbers. I could paste it in at bar 7 if I wanted. I'm just going to paste it in at bar 2. So let's click here and paste. And I'm going to do it again because CII will have the same kind of thing. Same rhythm, different pitch. So we've got now 2 more of these Motif Cs that we can edit into Motif CI and Motif CII. Let's start with CI. So I'm going to edit this. It's brought up all 3 of these bars. I'm just going to look at the middle one because that's the one that I'm creating Motif CII inside. So that's what it looked like. And the first 3 notes are going to go down to B flat 0. So all 3 of these Ds, D1, D2, D1, are going to move lower to B flat 0, B flat 1, B flat 0. I'm going to select all three. To do that, hold down on the first one and press the other two. All three should be highlighted. Then I can just grab one of them and slide it down to B flat 1. There we go. So that's moved all three notes. The last three notes are going to stay where they were as C1 and C2. So that's done. Click done. Don't forget to rename. Double click, rename, and that is CI. Now I'm just going to do motif CII. So let's take this third box. Let's edit that. Zoom in and scroll up so I can see it all. Okay. All these notes are going to change. So let's just select the first three to go with for now. I'm going to hold that first one down, press these two. They're going to move up to G1 and G2. So let's move this one up to G1 and the others will move with it. The last three notes are now B flat 1 and B flat 2. So again, let's select all three. And I'm going to move this first note up to B flat 1. And you can watch on the left to see when you've got the B flat highlighted green so that you know these are the right places. And there's that B flat 2. Click done and rename. You must always rename these. You do not want to lose track of which motif you've been working on, which is which. As you can see, we've only got A, B and C here. Once we get up to motif M, you're going to get really confused if you haven't labeled them. Please make sure you're renaming.